Okay, so welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. Oh, now Glynis has just said she's lost the sound. Can I just ask everybody to, or somebody to say hello to Glynis? I'm assuming you guys can all hear me okay, but if yeah, thanks Sean. Could you just maybe say to Glynis to try turning her sound on and off again? And then hopefully she can come back in and join us. Okay guys, just going to make a start. So tonight we're talking about brilliant. Thank you, Glynis. We're talking about supporting your new team members. And this is one of a series of 8 webinars that I run every Wednesday night. Occasionally I miss one if I'm away for an event or something. So it might take 9 weeks to do the whole lot. But normally one a week. And they're all recorded. So at the moment, I know we've got a few people here who have just started literally within the last few days. So you don't have to wait kind of 5 or 6 weeks to watch the getting started one or the how to build your customer base. You can go to the recordings and watch it kind of whenever you want to. And equally, if we go through this one and there's a couple of bits you'd just like to go back over in your own time, you can watch the recording of this once I've loaded it all up. At the end of the webinar, I'll explain where all of the recordings are. So of the 8 webinars, you can see the first 3 there are really about the retail side of the business, getting started, things to make sure you do in your first few weeks and building your customer base. And then 4 and 5 are really about sharing the opportunity. This is such a fantastic business at the moment, and the last 12 to 18 months it's really taken off and there's so much excitement going on. So I hope you're feeling the buzz as well. So that's 4 and 5 is all about sharing it. And then 6, 7 and 8 are, in my opinion, probably the most important bits of this business that you're all in. And that is growing yourself, moving on, developing things in yourself. So how to set goals, how important your attitude is, the whole area of personal development. And we're starting on that next week. So it's all getting exciting. So this is what I call my Kleeneze Circle of Success. And tonight we're going to be talking about supporting new team members. So you guys should be able to take this on board from one of 2 points of view. Either if you're just new, then you should make sure you get all of this support from your sponsor, and if you're not, then you should be knocking on their door saying, hey, what's next? Come on, I need some more help. Help me grow my business, because that's what we're here for. And if you're a sponsor and you're bringing team people in, then hopefully you'll find that you're doing most of this anyway. But if you're not, then maybe there's just a few ideas, a bit of food for thought for ways that you might be able to help your new starters get off to the best possible start. So tonight, what I'm going to be covering, and it should take us about half an hour or so, is setting. Oops, sorry, still struggling with my cough a bit, guys. Setting their expectations. The getting started appointment. I'm going to talk about just anticipating early problems, because like any business, success isn't just a smooth straight line. There are always good days, bad days, ups and downs. It can be a little bit of a roller coaster at times, and you can help smooth that roller coaster out by just preparing people for the kinds of problems they might come across. Helping new people keep on track, that's really important. And I'm also going to suggest that you should be starting to go to work for them. And I'll explain more about that in a moment. The importance of recognizing their progress. When people first start off, it can be quite scary. For a lot of people, it's the first time they've ever done anything like this. So it's really important to recognize their successes and to promote your events. Events are the lifeblood of this business. You guys, I'm kind of preaching to the converted. Thank you, Pete. I've got a mug of tea. I don't think I should drink too much wine. You guys, I'm preaching to converted really, because this is an event that you all come along to. You've invested some time to learn a bit about how to get more out of your business, so well done. But you need to make sure you do that with your team members as well. So let's rock and roll. So last week we talked about different ways of sharing the opportunity, and if you do that following a good system that your sponsor shows you and helps you with, you will start to find people who are excited about what you do and want to join you. So when you've got a new team member, this is where your business gets really exciting. But it's also where the hard work begins. If you think you've been working hard by delivering 200 catalogues a day for a couple of weeks, then physically that's quite hard. But supporting your team is a different kind of challenge. And I remember hearing this once, and it's certainly true. Your success in Kleeneze will be in direct proportion to the amount of frustration you can deal with. If you get frustrated by the first time you go to pick up a catalogue and it's a bit wet, or somebody doesn't put it out, then you're kind of going to get wound up pretty quickly, because that happens quite a lot at the beginning. Equally, with your team members, you will find team members that want to work as hard and are as ambitious as you are. But you'll also find some who are not quite so ambitious. And if you get frustrated because they're not progressing as quickly as you think they can do, then that's a challenge that you need to deal with, because people need to progress at the speed that's right for them, not at the speed that's right for you. And remember, you don't need to find hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to find a massive business. You just need to find 5 serious people and show them how to find 5 serious people. And if that repeats, before long you'll have 25, 125, 600, thousands of people in your business by showing people how to find 5 serious people. Now, when somebody joins, the aftercare and support, that's what you give them, this is the biggest impact you can have on the success of your new team member. Now, what you will find is the biggest impact that there is on the success of a new team member is them. It's their work ethic, it's their attitude, it's their willingness to learn. So you can't directly affect that, but you can support them and care for them and help them, and that will be the biggest impact you can have. And it is really important to understand that many distributors don't have what it takes, don't have the desire or the willingness to put the effort in to grow a successful business. And it's not really your fault if that's what happens, unless you're negligent, mislead them. So as long as you do everything that you can to support them, and you encourage them to get to meetings, and you help them and support them and recognize their successes, if they then choose to leave, then you just have to accept that. There are lots of other people who are as ambitious as you and will join you and help lead you and them to success. And probably the biggest thing I could say to you is keep in touch with your team members. I remember seeing this on a conference once. Constant communication keeps people inspired. And it's true, people have good days and bad days, and the constant communication of you supporting them and encouraging them will keep them inspired to keep moving towards their dreams or their desire, their goals, whatever it was that they joined the business for. And what you will find is, in amongst all the people that you bring in amongst all the ones that leave, there will be some leaders. And in a way, you won't need to look very hard to see which of them are leaders, because they will make themselves known to you. They'll be the ones who are contacting you all the time, saying, right, I've done this, what's next? What do I need to do next? I'm really keen to learn this. Where's the next training? How can I find out more about this? It's going to be pretty obvious to you when you've got a leader in your team. Now, one of the things that I recommend you do, and this can be quite hard, I know I found this quite difficult at the beginning, and this is, you need to kind of set people's expectations before they even sign up. Now, at the beginning, you kind of, if somebody says, oh yeah, I'd like to sign, please, my kind of temptation was always to say, fantastic, I've got a new team member, sign them up quickly before they change their mind. But actually, what you need to do is just make sure that they understand what they're getting into. And what I do is I just explain my role as their sponsor, that my role is to give them 100% help and support, but that their success will be down to them. And so in return for the kind of help and support that I'm going to give them, I ask that they commit a few things to me, that they commit to doing a few things. And that is, they really need to be able to commit 10 to 15 hours a week. And I do ask them that, if somebody sort of comes in and says, oh yeah, I've got a full-time job, but, I've got, a couple of hours on a Saturday morning and I could probably do one evening, I kind of say you really need 10 to 15 hours a week. I guess it's possible to do it on less than that, but very, very rarely, I would say. So they need to have that clear in their mind that they've got to be able to commit some time to it. And I always say, you need to keep in touch with me. I will contact you and I will help you with the training, but if you don't call me when you have any questions or just to keep me updated, then it's going to be very difficult for you to progress in the business if we're not talking regularly. And I also say to them, you need to commit to learning our system. We've got a tried and tested system with loads and loads of testimonials of fantastic success of people who just learned the system. It's not a difficult system, it's a simple system to follow, but you need to commit to learning it. And I explain to them that there are videos and guides that you will get right at the beginning, there are weekly webinars that you can attend, and there are monthly workshops. And if you're happy to take on as much of that as you possibly can, then you'll be successful in the business. And I ask them, before they sign up, I'm saying this to them, are you happy with that? And some people will say, well, the only thing is that I'm not able to get to the workshops at a weekend because I've got family commitments, and yeah, the evenings are not good for me because I do this, and I'm probably not very good at training. I kind of like to go off and do my own thing. And I would say to that person that it's going to be really difficult for them to succeed if they're not willing to do that. And it can be painful doing that for you as a new sponsor, because it feels like you're putting somebody off. But I think if you get that commitment, you're going to have a far more successful distributor who achieves far more for themselves if you can do that. So the next step, once you've kind of signed them up, you've done all the registration process, the next step is to do a getting started appointment. Now this can be, this should be within 24 hours really. I mean, obviously if they've got a big commitment the next day and it's 36 hours or whatever, it's not the end of the world. But kind of, I always try and just book it, if it's during the day sometime or on an evening, try and book it for the following day. And I always do this either face to face if they're local and they're happy to do that, or with Skype. I think the beauty of Skype is that wherever they are in the country and in Ireland, and looking forward in France or Germany or America or Australia or whatever it might be, you can start to build a bit of rapport with them with Skype, far better than a phone call or texting them or sending them a few emails. And the purpose of this call, this appointment, is really to build a bit of rapport. Hopefully you've got a bit of an idea of what they're looking for because you've already had a few conversations with them before they signed up. But building that rapport, having a chat with them, getting to understand what are their needs, what is it that they're looking for out of this business. Because some people will come in and they just need an extra 50 quid a week to help pay the bills. Other people have got a wedding coming up in 6 months and they really want to have a fantastic honeymoon, or they're looking for a car, or they're saving up for a deposit on a house, or who knows. But it just gives them the opportunity to explain to you what they're looking for out of the business. And that's really important because then when you're helping them progress through the business, making sure they get all of the training, people who have said, I really only want 50 quid a week, I haven't got a lot of time to invest in it, I'm happy just to do a bit of retail, then that's fine. There's no point in bombarding them with loads of team building training. But people that have got more ambitious goals, obviously it's useful for them to be aware of the rest of the training as well. I always give them an introduction to the retail. Normally I've already sent them to the videos for how to get started on Facebook, assuming that they want to do Facebook. If they haven't looked at the Facebook videos, I will have discussed the catalogue side with them by then, so they've got a bit of an idea. But I give them an introduction to retail at this point. I also give them an introduction to the training. So this is a deliberate thing. The day before, I've said to them, you need to commit to doing this. The following day, in the getting started appointment, I talk about this is when the next webinar is. So there's a Wednesday night webinar at 8 o'clock. There's an induction webinar on a Monday and a Thursday, or if you run induction webinars, whenever yours are. There are events, local opportunity meetings. There are workshops. There are showcases. You need to make sure people are aware of these because these are so valuable, so important to their success that it's really important that you encourage them to attend as many training events as possible because they will learn so much from them. And the other thing then, once you've kind of gone through that initial appointment, and it normally is, I would say, half an hour maybe, depending on how much of a chat you've had. Don't rush take your time with that getting started appointment, because the whole point is you're building a bit of rapport. They're getting to know you a bit, you're getting to know them a bit, because at the end of the day, if you know and like and trust each other, you're going to be far more successful than if you're a bit kind of cautious and you're not sure you really get on. So really spend a bit of time with that. But once you've been through that, the next day or two, you need to help them make sure they kind of cut out any common errors that can occur. And there's a number of kind of typical ones, but I'll just quickly go through them. Then they need to send a photo in for their ID card. Sorry, excuse me a second. They can just send either via an email or at the end of the registration page when they signed up, there's an option there to send a photo. So make sure they've done that. If they don't send their photo in, I think it's within 28 days, then their account can be put on stop. So it's something that needs to be done fairly quickly, if not immediately. You need to prepare them a little bit against failure. Now what I mean by that is, if you're doing catalogues, it will rain. This is England or Ireland, so they will get wet. There will be some times when they pick up their catalogues and they only get a few orders. Other times they'll get lots of orders, and at the beginning it's up and down while you're building your customer base. So it's important to recognise that. You will see the odd grumpy so-and-so who says, I don't want this catalogue, don't darken my doorstep again. So just be aware of that. Some people have all sorts of challenges in their life, and they're not particularly mad at you, they're just mad at their circumstances. If you're doing this on Facebook, you will have there's a risk of getting Facebook restrictions if you kind of comment, if you post too much in lots of different groups. That you will have Facebook trolls who will put comments on your post saying, oh, I can get this at half the price at Poundland. It's only 40 miles down the road and I can get there on the local bus and it saves me 23p. So just be aware of these things, because then when they do happen, they're not surprised. And make sure they have the contact names and numbers of their upline. So obviously that's you as your sponsor, but it's worth making sure that they're in contact with your sponsor, maybe the person above that as well, so that if for whatever reason they can't get hold of you and they've got a question, they kind of have some people to contact. They're not just isolated if you're in a meeting or away for a day or two. And also it's really important, again, second or third or fourth day, that you're asking about, okay, when's the next event? Are you coming to the training meeting? It'd be great to introduce you to the rest of the team and get to meet you. And what you need to think about is you need to promote the meetings. You need to be a promoter, not an announcer. Now what I mean by that is, it's all very well sending an email to everybody in your team saying, hey guys, we've got a monthly opportunity meeting at the Dog and Duck down the road, Wednesday week at 8 o'clock. And just assume everybody will turn up who's interested. Because you will get some people turn up, but lots of people will find excuses not to. You need to do more than that. You need to speak to individuals and invite them and explain how important it was to you when you were starting the business and how it will really help them, and that I'm really looking forward to meeting you and introducing you to the rest of the team. So don't just announce it, but actually promote it. And the other thing that you need to explain is the steps about building a customer base. So this is a business, not a job. And what I always say is, when you first start off, your first days and weeks, you'll be delivering up 200, 250 catalogues, and you won't know who's going to order from you and who isn't. You'll be putting lots of posts out on Facebook, and you might not have anybody in your selling group yet, and you've got no idea who's going to order from you or not. So at the beginning, you kind of don't have any customers. But as you deliver your catalogues and more of your customers get to recognize you and know you and order from you, and on Facebook you've got your selling group and more people starting to engage with you, replying to little interactive posts and games and competitions, then that's building a customer base. And it doesn't happen overnight. You've got to work with it. You've got to, what did Peter Rhea say? Yeah, he talks about cultivating your customer base, building rapport with people. So make sure you explain that to them, because as I say, it's not like a job where it happens overnight and on day one you're off and running. This is something you need to build and work on yourself at the beginning. And just make sure you're talking to them regularly. What did they say at the beginning? Constant communication inspires people. So when if they've ordered a catalogue kit, when a kit arrives, when they're dropping their catalogues after their first pickup, when they're ready to place their first order, again on Facebook, maybe when they're running their first competition, or if they're starting to put things into the local groups, make sure you're talking to them so you can help answer any questions straight away. Now, a couple of other things worth bearing in mind. If you bring people in on the installments option with the catalogues, then you need to be aware of their dates. When are the installments due? It's really easy to lose track of, 30 days in, when have I got a payment due? And if someone's finances are a bit tight, and when the payment is due, they don't make the payment, that can cause a problem, because what happens is head office puts their account on hold, and even if you're then just about to put an order in, that order will just sit there, and you need to ring head office up and make that payment. Otherwise, your business is just stopped. So make sure you know their date and you call them a day or two before, just to say, don't forget, you've got this payment is due on whatever the date is. It gets taken from the same card that you used when you registered at the beginning. So make sure that if there's money in their account, usually it's 30 days in, so you should have money from your first orders, your first profits. So just take £45 of that, make sure it's in that account, so that your account is kind of clean. Now, one of the things that I think works really, really well, and I've heard lots of people say this as well, if you've got somebody who's joined on to do Facebook retailing, then in their first couple of days you need to go to work for them. And what I mean by that is, if they're not local to you, then you need to join some groups in their area. If you've got a good Facebook profile, so you're doing lots of posting, Facebook's happy with you to post in lots of groups and so on, you can join groups in their area far quicker than they can if they've got a kind of a fairly quiet profile and haven't been logged onto Facebook every day, posting every day. Then if they suddenly went in and tried to join 50 groups in a day, then they could get a restriction. So they need to join gradually, I would say 5 to 10 groups a day at the most, but you can add them to groups more quickly. So if you join their groups in their area, or if it's somewhere that you've been recruiting in, you may already be in lots of groups. And if you're in their groups, you can then add them to those local selling groups. And you can do that quicker than they're allowed to do it themselves. So you can then get them into sort of 10, 20, 30, 50 groups really quickly that way. And what you can also do then is, once they've set up their selling group and they've got their kind of 10, 15 products in there, they've started to add a few friends, you can promote their selling group in the local groups. Because you're already in those groups, then you can go in and place adverts. Hi everybody, my friend Susie's just started a brand new online shop in the area. It would be great if you would help her get off to a good start. Just join her group, say hello. She'll be very pleased to see you there. Or something like that, and that will start to get people joining their group quicker than they can just kind of do it themselves. And it's really important to recognize that it's a race. Now, I always say to people, you can do this at your own speed, which is absolutely true, but it's really exciting when you get your first order in and you make your first profit and you start to get your first bonuses. So if you do that quickly and somebody's really motivated and they're really excited and they're working harder and they get bigger bonuses and then they start sharing the opportunity, they're going to be really excited and they're going to start really earning good money very quickly. But if they say, well, I haven't really got a lot of time, so I'm just going to do it a little bit slowly, and kind of 3 or 4 or 5 months into it, they're kind of just putting their first couple of orders in, they only really need the slightest thing to put them off, and they're thinking, well, I'm not really making much money out of this anyway, so I'll just leave. It's not going to be a problem. So it's really important that you help them get off to as fast a start as possible. The other thing that I think is really, really important is that you recognize their progress. recognition, we've always said in this business, recognition is one of the most important parts of it. One of the jokes going round is that usually the only time you get recognised is in a police lineup. Usually, if you're in a job and you do a really good job and you've done really, really well, all that happens is your boss gives you more work to do. They very rarely come around and give you a pat on the back and say, thanks very much, Susie, that was an excellent job, well done. In our business, we can recognise people all the time, and that's what you should be doing. And Facebook is such a simple and effective way to congratulate a new team member on their progress. So you can start off just welcome them to your team. If you've got a little team group, or you use one of the bigger support groups, welcome them to your team. Make them feel part of something a bit bigger. And then when they have, they've got their first orders together and they've put an order in, tell them what a great job. You just qualified for 50 free catalogues, got your first order in, well on the way to your 30-day challenge. And then, once they've placed their first order, maybe their second order, they've now got profitable business. If they paid 25 quid to get started and they've put an order in of 150, 200 pounds, they've broken even already within the first week. So you should be congratulating people on their profitable business. And when they get their bonuses, their 30-day bonus, or their first cash bonuses, well done on doing that. That's fantastic, because that's why they're all in the business, to start earning money. So give them some congratulations for that and recognise their fantastic progress. Okay, now the other thing that is really important to do for a new starter is to help them keep track. And this is really important for you to be aware of how to do that as well. So you need to make sure you understand from them how much they're wanting to earn from the business. So in that getting started appointment and before then, really, when you were first talking to them, you should have got an idea of how much they're looking to earn from the business. And making sure that it's realistic. If somebody comes in and says, I've just lost my job, I need £1,000 a month to pay the mortgage, but I've only got a couple of hours on a Saturday morning, it's not realistic for them. So as long as what they're looking to earn is realistic, then you can tell them how many catalogues do they need to put out each day or each week in order to achieve that. How often do they need to be posting on Facebook? Every day anyway, but just to give them an idea, if they're looking for £50 a week, they really need to be posting 2, 3, 4 products in their own group, 2, 3, 4 products in 50 local groups. And if somebody's not putting the catalogues out, or they're only on Facebook once a week and they put a couple of things out, you need to help them realise that that's not going to earn what they wanted to earn. So you've got to monitor what they're doing and keep track of it. It's also really important to explain the bonus system. It's quite confusing at the beginning when we start talking about 28-day periods and 30-day challenges and so on. So it's really important when you're getting towards the end of a period, and if one of your team members is approaching a bonus and is just a few points short, you need to make sure that they know if you just put an extra £50 dropship order in, you're going to get yourself a 40 quid bonus tomorrow. So make sure people are aware of that. And just to help them set their first goals. I mentioned two there, the 30-day challenge where they get all sorts of catalogues, free catalogues, K-Life catalogues, Kleeneze catalogues, or leads if they want to get into team building really, really quickly. Their 10% bonus, which is their first cash bonus. Make sure you understand whether that's important to them and that you help them achieve that, and they know what they need to do to achieve that. And I mentioned this before, and I'm not going to apologise for mentioning it again. Promoting events is the biggest skill that you can have that will give you a successful business. So you must always go to the event. It's no point you promoting events and saying, oh, well, I won't be there. I've got my Auntie Margaret's 37th birthday that I'm going to. You need to be at the event if you're serious about building a business. And that is these webinars. So well done, guys. You're all committed to this. The workshops, the showcases, the events in your area. If you're new yourself, then speak to your sponsor. Your sponsor will show you where all of the events are. And it's really important that you show your team members how important they are and how valuable they will be to helping them achieve their goals. And as I've said, and I feel this is so important that I just want to go over this again. Promote the events. Don't just announce them. Don't just send an email and say, well, if they're interested, they'll turn up. people will always find an excuse for not going there. But if you promote it and you ring them up and you say, oh, hi, we've got that workshop that we're going to a week on Saturday. Are you going to come along? Really, really useful, fantastic buzz, all these new people getting excited about it. If they've then got some problems, like, well, the only thing is I don't drive, then you can help them solve those problems. Maybe there's a train they can get and you could pick them up at the station, or maybe there's somebody else coming from their area and they'd be happy to car share. Or if it's a childcare problem, haven't they got maybe a family member who could help just for an afternoon, just to help you get started? So don't just let them decide for themselves. You need to help them solve the problems to try to encourage them to get to the event. And there's a good quote I saw: be the leader you seek. Sometimes you join a new business and you're kind of looking up to your sponsor and the sponsor above them, and you think, oh, I wish they were a bit more inspiring and kind of would help me do a few more things. And sometimes that can be an excuse, and you say, well, if only I had a better sponsor, I'd be much more successful in this business. You have to be the leader in your business. So look out for inspiration from other leaders and copy what they do and go and speak to them. Go and find the people who are inspiring their team and learn from them and do that yourself. Whew. Okay guys, this is overrun a little bit because I was a little bit late starting, but I'm just about finished now. So I've got a couple of questions just to make sure that you're all wide awake. I better wake you up now. Come on, wake up. Right. At the beginning, I asked about what commitments would you ask for from a new starter before they'd even signed up. Can anybody remember? I said 3 things. Can anybody remember what I asked? Oh, Sean and Stuart, very good. They need to commit a bit of time. Yep, well done, Glennis. Anybody remember the other things? Yep, that's it, Pete. I should do a countdown. Did it? Yep, that's it, Jenna. Yep, Jessica's got that one. That must have been an easy one. Ah, Dave, Mr. Trowell, very good. Wine? Jan, you're such a naughty girl. Keeping in touch, Jessica, that's it. Communication, Dave, well done, guys. Very good. Can you remember the last one? Any guesses? No, look, you guys are getting out of hand now. Chocolate, I don't know. Some of us are on a diet, Mrs. Trowell. Right. If you remember, I said, you're right, you need to commit 10 to 15 hours, you need to communicate, and you need to be willing to learn the system. Invest some time in learning the system because it will pay you back thousands and thousands times more. Okay, one more question. What have I said? How many times have I repeated this? What are the 2 different ways to inform a new starter about an event? Remember what I said? Face to face, yeah. Okay, promote, yeah, Lynn, promote. Skype, says Jan. Phone, says Emma. Perhaps I didn't word it. Paul from Skeggy, you win the prize. Yeah, and Mr. Trowell as well, but you were second there. Yeah, what I was trying to get at there, perhaps my wording wasn't brilliant, but I said you can either promote it, which is a good way to do it, or you can announce it, which is not so good. So I only repeated that 23 times. I hope that kind of starts to sink in a little bit now. Fantastically, brilliant. Okay guys, so just wrapping up now, what I've covered is setting their expectations before they start. The importance of that getting started appointment to build a bit of rapport, get to know and like your new team member and allow them to get to know you. Anticipate any early problems. There's lots of things that can go wrong. You don't have to kind of sit there for 3 hours and say a list of everything that can possibly go wrong, but just be aware of the common things. Help them to keep on track for whatever their first goals were. especially on Facebook, you can go to work for them and just speed things up for them, recognize their progress, and what was that last one again? Promote the event. Right, so all finished for tonight, guys. Just two last things. Next week we're going to be getting into the personal development side of the business. So I've called the first one "Grow Yourself to Grow Your Business." Oh, excuse me. Grow yourself to grow your business. And finally, I'm just going to turn off the recording of this